Love this thing. Continuing on with some interviews. Who are you? Who am I sitting with right now?
My name is Anton and I'm the CEO of Perfect Random. We make a game called Sulfur.
Can you tell me a little bit about Sulfur?
So Sulfur is a roguelike FPS kind of extraction shooters, but it's single player, like stylized, cartoony, violent, and goofy.
What would you say are your biggest inspirations for something like Sulfur?
Biggest inspirations, Noita, definitely, with the weapon systems and how you can like dynamically or like it's like modular in the way you build your guns instead of once. And then Ivan, like an old school like shareware roguelike, if you know about it. I love Returnal. Not enough people played it. Very nice progression system for a roguelike. And then Binding of Isaac and like a lot of the classics, definitely. But then the FPS games like Counter-Strike is like how you control
the character controller for like FPS. That's the most important thing. You a big Quake fan?
Yeah, but our game is more like slower and more tactical. So you move slower. It's less of a runner and more of it's more like walking.
It's like with Quake, like the movement tech is kind of the skill expression. Like because there's such a limited arsenal relatively for Quake compared to something like Sulfur or even like more modern FPS, to where the skill expression in Sulfur lines is like how you build what you have.
Yeah, and unfortunately for me personally, it's a lot about swallowing your ego and like going back, extracting, planning your run, like being smart about it, not just like going head first into new challenges, which is like, I mean, it's a mixed bag if you're into that, because then you lose your stuff when you die.
Right. Yeah, it's like player agency. You know, you're like you can if you want. You can. I think that's great. What are pieces of media outside of game that influence you in the way that you make games?
I would say the creative vision for Sulfur has been, I mean, it's stylized, like flat shaded, cartoony. So a lot of comic books. Preacher is an obvious inspiration for Sulfur, for example. A lot of old movies, like we have a lot of references in Sulfur for people who watched retro action movies, and awesome. Home Alone is the biggest. There's like there are a lot of thematic stuff in Sulfur you can pick out. I don't know if we said that before.
How did you get started doing this? Like, is Sulfur your first game?
We as a company, we come from different backgrounds. I worked as a lobbyist for the Swedish Games Industry for 10 years, and I'm the CEO and do business stuff. So we met through game jams. We're all very much into these kind of games, like as a group. But individually, we're into different stuff and kind of brought our experience together. My co-founders worked at Triband, for a Danish company making What the Car, What the Golf, those games.
I've heard of that.
And before that, a bunch of like small little quirky indie titles. So we've been around for more than 10 years at other places, and then we came together to make Sulfur as our first.
It seems like it's done very, very well for you all. You mentioned you were a lobbyist. Really, the question that I'm trying to answer by coming here is, why is Sweden such a prolific place for game developers when we consider, 20% of Steam revenue or something like that comes from Sweden, and a not 1% of that is from a single game like Repo? There's something in the water, or there's something happening. And I've talked to a couple of people, but I think you might have a really interesting perspective on this.
I actually do think Repo was like 3% of that. It comes from long background. It started bubbling in like the 90s. There were tax breaks on home computers. Around when CD-ROM was starting to happening. We were building fiber throughout Sweden, even for the most rural places. I grew up north, and like small villages got fiber internet before Stockholm did.
Like Oslo north, or like?
Way further north. The most small, like villages basically, had fiber in like the early 2000s. It was kind of a way to democratize development, social development and stuff.
That was the idea. It would foster, if we had the logistics for this, it would foster more development of that.
Yeah, so it was like infrastructure projects combined with like a long tradition of entrepreneurship. Like if you go back historically, Sweden has always been about trade and entrepreneurship, Nobel Prize, invention of dynamite. Like there's like, if you look at like inventions from Sweden, there's like hundreds.
Why do you think that? Something that I've kind of, because it's not Swedish, but it's like a Nordic thing, where it's like there's always been this pedigree of like toy making from Nordic countries. You can look at at Lego with something like IKEA. Exactly, it's packaged, it's made in a way that it's Swedish. And it's hard for me as an outsider to kind of define what that is, but I know it when when I see it. Sweden's coming up in the 90s and they're putting fiber in small villages. They're starting to, there's a sense of entrepreneurship, and you think, what other factors do you think go into it?
Yeah, and then we had role-playing games, pen and paper. There was a strong movement of that in the 80s. There was a Swedish equivalent of Dungeons and Dragons called Drakar och Demoner, so dragons and demons. Yeah. So that was around at the time, and there was a big culture around that. So that educated, I would say, the first game designers in Sweden. So that combined with like Commodore 64, home computers, a mod community or like demo scene community, making their own games and kind of competing in their own little like culture, basically. So there was a subculture bubbling and a strong social support for that. And of course, coming out of World War II kind of unscathed because of similar like with Switzerland as well. Like you're neutral and maintaining neutrality, didn't get bombed. So coming out of that with like your population intact, you've been exporting throughout and in after that. So it's like Sweden was a rich country, had a big population comparatively to many other rich nations with a background in engineering, because we had a strong history of engineering as well, and kind of a spoiled generation. You ask your kids, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? You should do something you're inspired to do that makes you happy, all that shit. And then we're like 80s, 90s, year 2000s, generations of that. And we only care about games because we're nerds, cold winters, dark.
Well, it's something that like it's looked at as a more legitimate job, because even now in America, you tell your parents you want to make video games and they look at you funny, and your parents might be like, you know, in their 40s or 50s, and they know what a video game. They probably play video games themselves. So what I'm hearing from you on why, or one reason why Sweden is so prolific with this is they're just kind of like a couple decades ahead as far as like understanding the industry of what they're doing here and fostering that importance. Does the government give a lot of benefits to specifically games as a software? They don't.
No, not almost none.
Really?
Of that. And some people pointed that for like an explanation for why we have a prolific industry and some of our neighbors don't. Because they like 15 years ago started getting subsidies. Exactly. So like a good CEO, like a proficient CEO in a different country maybe is good at writing applications and like making a case and pitching to basically the government. Not really, because it's like a free entity, but maybe the film fund handles all the like 100 million they will give to companies. So we don't have any of that, which I think is a shame, because I think that's cool, because then you can do non-commercial stuff, that more artsy stuff, and be more punk, be more like you could care less, and be very expressive and kind of foster that too. Because now everybody's on survival mode when you start making games. Like you can, I mean, we do have like free education, which is a big deal. Like you go to a university for 3, 4, 5 years for free, and you get a grant. Like you get a grant from the government, like a subsidy.
Yeah, so it's not exactly like a government subsidy for the games industry, but the government takes such good care of everyone that people have the ability to put their time and effort into this. Like we're in the States, if you're a part-time developer, you have like another job, you're doing something else, and a lot of the times your own schedule gets in the way of itself, and then, you know, it just gets, it's harder and harder, and you got to put food on the table, so you're not making the game anymore. Because
it explains parts of it, but so do like most of Europe. So like Italy has that, France do, Germany does. So like it doesn't explain the whole thing. There's also a history of like other things, and all these things come together. And then I think it's kind of a success, kind of feeding into success. Like now we have game developers investing in other game developers.
Do you feel like it's still going well? Like it's going to continue to go up this, or do you think that bubble's going to pop here at some point? Or like...
I mean, it's not a bubble if you're profitable. It's a bubble if you're like speculating on a future success.
You know what, you're right.
And the games industry is not that. People are like, look at Repo or Peak or whatever. Like they have more than enough now, so they don't. There's no bubble to pop like that. But there are, of course, a lot of investment happening, and that has to pay off at some point. But I think we have like just within only this year we have the Rome game coming out. Romestead looks really cool. A bit like Core Keeper. The golf game was just released. The Super
Battle Golf. Yeah.
Really well, and like a few more like that are just popping up. So I think there's more coming this year as well.
Do you think Stockholm is the best city in Sweden for the games industry?
If I was still a lobbyist and I had to be like fair and like not be all dominant, like, but yes, Stockholm is like majority of the industry. Definitely, it's like I think it used to be like 60%, maybe it's more now, maybe 80%. It depends if you look at turnover or like number of people working in the industry. But Stockholm is still growing. But there's really cool games from Malmö and Gothenburg and up north, Hedemora. There's like really small places.
And when I mentioned online that I was coming to Stockholm to talk to developers, there was a person that linked me to this like retreat, like live-in spot. Like it's like very south. Forgive me for not understanding.
Spelkollektivet.
Yes. Spelkollektivet. Yeah, that kind of thing is just amazing. I wish there was any element of that in the States.
That is very, very cool. It's very like non-profit. Just everybody should be able to make games. You can live off of almost no income and still live and make games at Spelkollektivet. So that's just like what they do is amazing.
You know, if that can be successful, there should be more initiatives. Like I'm sure there are similar things, but I certainly never heard of anything like that.
I think they are like accelerator and they can help out with like publishing and stuff. They just would need a game to actually give them, I don't know, a cut and be a big hit and then it could be actually sustained because they have really low running costs.
I mean, that's kind of like how I operate as a company too. It's like I take a small revenue share, but we work hard enough and we are lucky enough, really, like luck is a part of this, to have a game that is selling reasonably on Steam, and we just don't need much more than that. And especially being like a one-person publishing, if my mortgage is paid for the month or whatever, like, guess what? We get to keep doing it. What kind of music do you like to listen to?
Well, I have a Young Lean hoodie on me. I used to be a metalhead, and then a lot of punk recently, and then this.
I'm a huge metal guy. Obviously, coming to Sweden, I can talk about it more freely with people because most people know more about it here. What are some of your favorite metal bands, Swedish or otherwise?
It used to be like the melodic death metal scene.
Brother?
Yeah.
Arch Enemy?
Like In Flames, Children of Bodom.
Yeah.
Finns are amazing. I mean, Slipknot when I was a teen.
Do you fuck with a lot of the like Swedish rock stuff?
I've been into like suicidal black metal. Like it's kind of a smaller subgenre. But like Life Lover, I was deep into that for a while. But then the problem with that is that they actually like we lose them. Like the they have different vocalists now.
It's
actually
when keeping it real goes wrong. It's probably some of the same reasons that they're so prolific with game development as the music scene too, or just recording, like audio engineering in general. Since ABBA, there's been how many of the top 40 pop songs in America over the years have just been made by some Swedish guy? What games are you playing like nowadays?
Oh my god, I wish I wasn't such a degenerate, but I played Dota 2. Ability draft, and I tell myself that it's interesting because I learned a lot about game design. But I think I'm just an addict. I tried to play, smaller games, other indie games.
That's funny. I had Kai in here a minute ago, and he was like, "I'm such a degenerate. I play League of Legends." Just like
I do try to play board games a lot.
Yeah, you're talking about something that'll like brush up skills as for like game dev. I think as close as you can get to like pencil and paper, sometimes it really lends perspective to what you can do.
Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, dude. It's golf for nerds. What's a favorite board game?
So I'm very dry. I like German kind of economic strategic board games, or I like the very human Ameritrash board games that are more.
What's an Ameritrash board game?
Oh, I thought that was maybe that's a Swedish term.
If
you know like Eurotrash,
absolutely.
like music. It's the same for board games. Like party versions of the German hardcore titles.
Okay,
so like the original, war games that are very like based on almost deterministic in their nature, like less dice, less chance, more like predictability, and only based on like chess. Closer to chess or closer to rock around dice and see who wins.
Where do you see the future of the industry, not just in Sweden but like worldwide in the next 5-10 years?
If the American government doesn't make the dollar collapse, then we'll stay basically the same. If the dollar collapses, then our whole industry will collapse because we're all exposed to the US dollar through Steam. So every PC developer throughout the world will escape from Steam if the dollar collapses.
I was gonna say, do you think there's a way to like decentralize that without moving from Steam, or is it?
No.
Is that okay?
No, because Steam is our the actual people with the customer relationship,
right?
Which is like by legal definition how they have to organize it, because otherwise it would be very unsustainable. Nintendo of Europe, we deal with if we make a game for Switch, blah blah blah. But if you're PC first and Steam is like 98% then we're just directly exposed to the dollar, which is great if you have a smaller, like weaker currency. But but now the dollar is weakening, so we like that affects like our books. Like we make 20% less because the dollar was weakened this year, or whatever. Like it's insane. And if that keeps going like down to like it's usually like 10 kronor in Swedish currency.
It's 6 now.
To like dollar. Now it's like it's been down to 8.
Yeah.
I mean, historically it's been down to like 550 the last financial crisis.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't really talk about it because it's a dry subject. I didn't mean to bring it up because it was really boring, but it's just like it's interesting now if you talk about the future. That's kind of what I think about a lot. Like that could disrupt the entire ecosystem because then it would make sense peg it to a different currency.
Yeah, more competition for storefront on PC, but it's so hard to picture a world without Steam.
If you could like have your AI bots, whatever, start a new platform with few administrative tasks on you as a person.
Yeah.
Like if there's a future where that actually works and this isn't just like fake claw bot made me rich, whatever.
Sure.
But actually really like make platforms work without much hassle, then maybe that could happen. I don't know. But I don't see a future where we are disconnected from Steam.
Being like American, I mean, I also work with foreign teams that we operate a lot based on like the Brazilian real. We monitor because there's money being converted and sent different places, and $10,000 USD fluctuates day to day on what it is.
Like buying less governmental bonds, which is like if that would keep going for a decade or two, that could change the whole picture and how we have to organize.
What does a world like that look like? Like not an economy, but how does our jobs as people who make and sell games, what do you think that changes?
Jesus, I think it could democratize a lot of stuff, but it could also like just make new gatekeepers to actually reach players. Now we have like the algorithmic kind of democracy of Steam, where like if people spend money on a game, it will be showed to other people.
Yeah, it's kind of snowballs a lot.
It can snowball, and actually like Vampire Survivors created a new genre of like bullet hell that would probably not have happened without Steam as a platform,
Sure.
And genres like that happen, but I mean you also see like the actual new genres happen on Roblox first. So that's actually like where we're not there.
Is there a big scene for Roblox in Sweden, like Roblox development?
I mean, obviously among kids,
Sure.
but we're disconnected from it like all other adults,
We're gonna get to this point in not even 10 years, like 5 years, where we're gonna have, and I'm seeing it now, meeting these people, seeing how young. I had no idea Mick was as young as he is. I had no idea these people that did mouthwashing were as young as they are. It blew my mind. Incredible to see this new generation of devs is different, and the one coming after them, by the time they're finishing high school, they'll have been game devs for a decade. The question of, are they going to apply it to their own thing, or are they going to stay within this like Roblox ecosystem? What can we give them to foster? Because I mean, I'll say it straight up, like Roblox. Like, it's predatory. It's cancerous. It's predatory, but undeniably influential, and really does give good opportunities to a lot of younger people trying to do that. But when they stop doing that, what are we as the generation before going to put in place for them to continue?
I think it's already put in place because they move over to other engines. Because then they know how to make games, and then they can work in any engine. And they just move over where the audience is and where they get a good deal. They get a better deal at Steam than on Roblox because it's less predatory. It's still like 30%. So there is a future where that 30% is like, it is insane. Like
it is.
They have a server. They have a web server. Of course, there's like running costs and stuff, but come on. 30% really.
And it's like, it's a microtransaction machine too. Like
on top of that. So it's like, it is insane. And people will look back historically and just like, that was insane. That you could have a monopoly like that. I mean, it's just inevitable. At some point, there should be an alternative. But they just do a really good job of keeping it open.
Yes, I mean, and Steam too. I think they went up against some, like the Rockefellers or some situation. They won, like, because there's not, like, they're just so base that they, like, nobody's competing with them because they just, I don't know. It's not that they can't. It's just why would you?
All the other fail miserably. Yeah. Like they just do a really, like, look at Epic.
Yeah.
Or like Microsoft Store, Xbox. Look at Xbox.
Yeah.
They're firing everybody quits. It's just like, they obviously, just like somebody has to do a good job with running a store, and apparently there's so much politics and so much like at big companies that they can't run a proper store. I used to work at Mojang, and back then, I mean, Minecraft is obviously not on Steam, but the new Minecraft games are. And that was after like years of discussion, because people were like, we should put it on Steam.
The fact that Minecraft isn't on Steam, like, has not, like, crossed my mind before,
I mean, it's before Steam blew up.
What's so ubiquitous too, like, it was just everywhere.
More games back then were not on Steam, like, there were more, like, outliers like that. But now even Mojang, that has, I mean, they have Microsoft backing these days, of course,
Yeah.
So they have that, but they also like they have this. It's big enough to have its own launcher and its own stores. And when I was working there, we were releasing 2 more games. It was the Scrolls game, you know, the car battler, and the Cobalt, like a 2D platformer versus game. Nobody played. That was amazing, but then just nobody wanted to do any marketing or any business stuff because that's like shallow.
Right.
And then it's like, well, how are we building a platform for like online? I don't know. How are we like marketing these games if nobody wants to do? Anyway, it was big trouble back then to like, because people wanted to make new games, also didn't want to invest in new games in terms of anything except development. So then they were dead on arrival. Even though you had all the privilege of having like, oh, we have a sustainable income, whatever. We have all the resources we need to make new games. Just the fact there were no players who paid attention to these new games just were so discouraged. People were so discouraged that, I mean, eventually sold the company. That was for more reasons than that. It was because,
Sure.
Okay, that's a whole story in itself. But like, it's just interesting to me that they wouldn't even think about Steam back then. And then like a decade later, it's just like, okay, f*** it.
We have to.
We'll just put it there and we actually make money from the game. Because they weren't making money from the Microsoft store. Could have made a Mojang. We were making a Mojang.com store with its own launcher and more than one game. It just didn't happen because Marcus sold the company. But if you would rewind history and convince Marcus to not sell his company for scraps, basically, I mean, it was billions. People thought it was a lot back then. I thought it was like a
how much do you know?
It was like a few billion Swedish, which is like
a few billion Swedish,
a few hundred, maybe like I don't remember the exact number, but say it's like a few $100 million, which is like a steal. If you
for
make
Minecraft?
For Minecraft, yeah.
Dude.
Which even back then I thought it was a steal. This is 10 years ago. I was like, that's insanely cheap because it's gonna outsell Tetris. It's trajectory to be the most successful game of all time. And I was sitting there at the Association of Swedish Game Developers non-profit, shout out, just like looking at the numbers, like this is gonna maybe outsell Tetris someday. And you sell it for like a few billion. Come on, you can make billions anyway if you just do nothing, sit in our ass.
Yes. Well, that's what always. Yeah.
Why would you sell it to like whatever? He did, but if we rewind time and go back and start a competitor and actually like maybe brought in these whatever happened with Landfall making Peak and like all of that could have been in a competing platform.
This is like a lot of like what I'm looking for, the economic aspect of like the games industry, especially the Swedish. I really appreciate your perspective.
I think about that sometimes. Like it's a stall base of 300 million people. Like that's a good chunk of what Steam has. Like that's all of them would be in a different, like there could be more places for us to exist and more competition for platforms.
Yeah. It's hard with the competition being the same games that are on another platform. And then the problem is if those games aren't on that platform, how do they sell? Epic launcher that I only ever used to play Fortnite or get a free game. The most successful video game ever tried to make a platform. And it was, it didn't.
I mean, they didn't really try. But they tried for a few weeks and people gave up because people actually didn't want to do any business at it. I'm just bitter about it when I think about the install base. Back then I thought it was cool. I was like, yeah, we're hippies. We don't have to make money. but just in hindsight, it's just like, what a missed opportunity.
But you could be a hippie making money.
Yeah, I mean, we were. But then you don't have to sell it, You could just stick around. But long story short, which is like we had modders making money out of their mods, and they were also predatory as fuck. Which is like all of that transferred over into Roblox. The pay to win servers where you buy a sword and you can kill all the other kids. Yeah. That kind of stuff. Back then, before Battle Royale was a thing. In Minecraft, we had the Hunger Games. So and those were predatory as fuck. So you would buy starting items, and that would make you win much, much easier. And it was the same kind of map, closing in, fighting other people. That was the biggest thing. But it was predatory, and we wanted to not have it be that. So Marcus put in place, or he asked to put in place, like, new rule, you can't charge money. Mods have to be free and, like, profit kind of thing. And that kind of ruins people's lives, honestly. Because people had been quitting their jobs, starting up servers, making mods for the game. It's like, I've been doing this for years, puts food on the table, I have 4 kids. Why would you do this to me? So we got letters and letters of, and death threats, of course. Heartfelt, like, heartbreaking shit that I guess we didn't really think about. This was people's, like, lives work, and they were entrepreneurs under Minecraft. So that was an unknown, and it was like, oh, we're trying to fix this with the new user agreement, license, whatever, and that ruined a lot of people's like careers. Marcus didn't take easy on that, so he quit, and he was like, he just tweeted, anybody wants to buy Minecraft, reach out. And then the rest is history. There was a Swedish guy working at Microsoft, it was
brokered the deal, basically.
yeah he was like in the early 90s, one of the demo day kids in the 90s.
This all comes back around.
So he was one of the first game entrepreneurs in Sweden, made a big career out of that, moved to America, worked at Microsoft, with the games division, and then he was just like, he had his phone number basically. So he's like, we can buy it.
That's honestly an incredible story. They're gonna make a movie about it one day, I'm sure. Hell yeah, man! I really appreciate the time. Thank you so much. Have a good one.